So it's been a while since I've done a scrapbook layout share. In this video, I have a bunch of 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 12 layouts to share with you next on the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. Hey, welcome back to the Victoria Marie YouTube channel where I feature all things scrapbooking and crafting. If that's your jam, make sure that you hit the subscribe button. Also click the bell, that way you'll be notified each and every time a new video is posted to this channel. So today I'm going to share with you a whole bunch of 8.5 by 11 and 12 by 12 layouts that I've made over the course of the past maybe 6 months or so. So if you like layout shares, then this is the video for you. Let's go ahead and get started. First up, I'm going to show you a couple, or maybe more than a couple, 8.5 by 11 layouts. This one's called Simply the Best. It's about my daughter who recently got her first pair of glasses. I'm using some products from Close to My Heart. This was their July and August release. Stamped those flowers, made gorgeous layers against that blue. Oh, that blue is so stunning. The papers in this collection look like wallpaper. It's really, really nice. And I believe I featured this here on the Victoria Marie YouTube channel, so make sure you check that out. Next up is another 8.5 by 11 layout called Celebrate. I'm documenting a story of me receiving a camera. I was gifted a camera from an industry colleague in support of Victoria Marie Designs. I'm ever so grateful for that. Did some hidden journaling because, as you can see, I have my photos and all those beautiful clusters taking center stage on the layout. So I just created some hidden journaling and put that in the back of the layout and called that done. I love all the colors, the little bits of sparkle on this layout with the resin hearts and the gold hearts as well, the gold puppy hearts that is. This next layout is probably one of my favorite designs. I have everything centered going from the top all the way down in a vertical fashion, the photos, all of the layered clusters. For this layout, I'm using a kit from Felicity Jane. I don't remember which one. I also wanted to use a tag to house my journaling, so I just created a simple text box in Microsoft Word and cut that down to a tag. I just love how this composition goes together, and I'll probably scrap lift myself on this layout because it is really, really nice. This next 8.5 by 11 layout is called Creativation Experienced, and this was my first time attending and being a guest at Creativation, although it was virtual here in 2021. So I was on a panel with a representative from Joann's as well as Beth Kingston, who I work with and do some projects for HSN. For this layout, I'm using the Vicky Booten Storyteller collection, and I decided to use some of her stencils and some modeling paste to layer over some pattern papers. Did some really fun circles and some layered embellishing. Her products are perfect if you want mixed media, but you don't want a ton of work. She has gorgeous papers that do all the work for you. So really, really love that layout. This is a layout that I created for Scrapbooking Cards Today. I think this was for the blog. And the challenge for the project, or the challenge to the Scrapbooking Cards Today viewers, is to create a layout using shapes. And so for this one, I created some star shapes using a die, a stitch die, and they are concentric. So I have the larger moving up to the smaller stars, a great way to add some dimension and interest to the layout. Also have some foam behind the top star on each cluster, and then did a little bit of journaling, got some ripped up washi tape to add in some texture. This is a layout about me reading and trying to relax during a very busy season in my life. Just love the way, I love those colors too, those are really pretty. Now we're going to get into the 12 by 12 layouts. This layout is called Then and Now, and I wanted to talk about the differences in terms of my daughter's development from when she was just days old to now she's 11 years old. So the photo on the left-hand side that's black and white, that's me holding her, and she was probably not even a week old in that photo. She was so teeny tiny. She was only 5 pounds, 14 ounces when she was born. The second photo that's in color is us today, and she is 11 years old, and she's really, really tall. And so we decided to recreate this photo and had a whole bunch of fun doing it. So what I did was, of course, create some clusters, the photos in the center because that's the focal point. And then I split my journaling, one on the left, one on the right, to kind of give a nice little interaction between the words and the photos of me talking about how much she's changed over the years. This layout's called Hello Tween. I'm just talking about, again, some age and stages type stuff regarding my daughter and her growing up. This layout is inspired by a YouTube video that I watched where the designer used shapes to create an ombre effect on the background of her layout. And so I decided to do the same, reached into my stash to grab this really fun pattern paper along with some solid cardstock from scrapbook.com, I believe. And I got as close as I could to the colors on the stripes of the pattern paper. I wasn't trying to be picky. Used my heart punch to punch out a whole bunch of hearts to create this background. Also coordinated some clusters based on the colors of the stripes. So as you can see, there's a blue cluster, a pink, and sort of a darker kind of coral color. And I also accented the clusters with some resin gold hearts as well as some puppy hearts too. So beautiful layout. Love the composition. We'll definitely be doing that technique again. This layout was created for the Scrapbooking Cards Today YouTube channel. So if you go over to Scrapbooking Cards Today, you'll be able to find this layout and see it come together. I'm using an Amy Tangerine collection. This was her spring collection. I forget the name of it. This layout's called Summer Ready. And for this project, we were challenged to use a tool in a big way. So I created a pocket using the We Are Memory Keepers pocket punch, and inside the pockets are going to be my journaling. So it does double duty. It is a layered element for my photos to rest on, and it's a spot where I'm going to document my story. So absolutely love the colors, the yellow and that blue again. Ugh, the blue is popping, just absolutely love that. Then in the clusters on some of the die cuts, I used the stamp that coordinates with the collection to add some accents. And that's a great way to add stamping to your layouts. Particularly if you're new to stamping on your layouts, you can accent your die cuts using some stamped images. So I'm going to add some journaling to that and call that one done. Next up is a funny layout about my daughter feeding herself Doritos with her toes. So the title is Doritos. I cannot take credit for that title. That came from one of my community members. I shared this story on my Facebook page, and she's like, you need to title that Doritos. So Angie Rushlow, if you are watching this video, thank you for the title suggestion. So I decided to do a loose grid for this layout. Of course, I had to take pictures of my daughter doing this. This is kind of my level of parenting at this point, because she was like, Mom, I'm going to eat Doritos with my toes. I'm like, do you, dude, whatever. Kind of gross, but go ahead. And so, of course, I had to document this. I'm using some product from Ellie Studio, the pocket cards along with the embellishments, all those really fun clusters. I love the color story, and I just paired that with a pattern paper from my stash as the background. So really funny story to tell. This layout's called My Turn. I'm using some Felicity Jane products. What I did was I printed a photo 6x12, and this is of me and my mom holding hands while we were shopping recently. And it just occurred to me as we were walking through the store that there was a time where she would hold my hand, and now the tables have turned, and so I want to document this. I took advantage of the white space on this photo, so at the top I have a cluster where I fussy cut some floral elements from a piece of pattern paper from one of the Felicity Jane kits, added some tags, added some butterflies and hearts. I've been really big on butterflies lately, so I'm just going to roll with it. So I have that large cluster at the top, smaller at the bottom. There's a lot of asymmetry going on here with the title and then the opposing clusters. But if you look at it, your eye is drawn to our hands first versus all of the embellishments. I think this composition is very balanced and it came together nicely, telling a really nice story that's sentimental to me. Next up, tween mode. I am documenting a lot about my tween. This was on a day where she was kind of ranty, kind of had an attitude. I don't know, but I just snapped some photos of her ranting about something. And she's in her glasses because we're getting ready to go. She has her purse, and I just thought this would make a really fun layout. So I'm, again, using some Felicity Jane products. What I did was I made a Felicity Jane mega kit where I took all of my kits and made one big kit. So from that kit, I took out these pattern papers, and notice there's a pretty dominant color scheme, which is green. And I don't normally use green, but I went through and I pulled out pattern papers that coordinate well together, added some complementary elements from some of the other kits, and called it done. I think I may have made this layout during a recent Victoria Marie YouTube live here on this YouTube channel, so you might want to check that out. Love the way this came together, and the fact that I was using product from my stash. I'm pointing out to other areas on the layout where I used some complementary pattern paper there, and I thought that was a really nice composition. Here is a not 2x2. This is a 12. This is a 2-page layout, Victoria. Get it right. 2-page layout. I hardly ever make 2-page layouts. So if you're new to this channel, you won't see this often. This is a project that I made for Scrapbooking Cards Today magazine, and the theme was patchwork. And so I created sort of patchwork tags using some pattern paper from the Vicky Booten, I want to say Storyteller collection, but I can't remember. And what I did was I cut up some pattern papers from that collection into squares, and I layered them in a patchwork fashion on some tags, and then of course added some fibers to that. The continuity is created by mimicking not only the tags on the left side of this 2-page spread, but also on the right hand side of the 2-page spread. So really love it. It's kind of arts and crafty with the patchwork. Layer that against some really fun pattern paper, kind of black grayish cream color, and just continue the story from one page to another with the title on one page, a couple of photos, and then photos on the other with the journaling. So I think this is really balanced, created some clusters using some beautiful elements from that collection. Really pretty. All right, here's another layout that I created, again, pulling items from my mega Felicity Jane kit that I made. So this particular kit, most of the items that I used here were from the February kit. I think it's Valentine's theme. And included in that kit were these really fun little interactive tags. Now this will go in a 12 by 12 page protector, but I like to take my layouts out when I have something interactive and I'll look at it. Nobody else really looks at my layouts except for me and my kids, so I'm not worried about it. But it has some journaling, some has some stamping that I added to the tag, and then on top of the tags, I did embellish them using some elements from that particular kit. And then, of course, there's a photo of me and my daughter. The title is My Very Best Friend because she really is. She's my best friend. I created a floral cluster with 2 tags that says Chapter 1, Chapter 2, and that is to kind of signify or symbolize my daughter and I, because of course there's 2 of us in this photo. I'm Chapter 1, she's Chapter 2, that type of thing. I like kind of adding those little sentimental symbolisms to my layout. I think this came together really, really cute. Love those tags. Those tags are just brilliant. I think I used them all for this layout. So really fun way to add some interactive elements to a layout. This next one's called There She Goes. This is a photo I took of my daughter. She would probably say she was about 7 or 8. And she was just sort of getting into the mode of playing with kids in our neighborhood. And so a little girl came to the door and asked her if she wanted to come out and play. And so Corinne got her shoes on. And as she's walking away, I take a picture of her because, of course, she's going to have these peer interactions all by herself. And she needs to learn how to do that. So I created this layout with some gorgeous clusters. I think I'm using some products from a Hip Kit Club kit. Created an anchor for my photo, but turn it at the diagonal for something different. Added in some clusters of various different elements, some little brads and such. Very, very beautiful, but the photo is just really eye-catching on this layout. This layout's called Alone Time, and I documented how I was feeling during a time where I was super stressed, overworked. And so this is a very story-driven, journaling-driven layout. So as you can see, the embellishing is very simple. I'm using some items from my stash. There's some Felicity Jane in there and some other stuff as well. I also stamped using Felicity Jane stamp. Today was my journey, really hard, keep moving. Those are all prompts for me to journal. And sometimes I will do this if I have a lot to say, but I need to break up my thoughts. Then I find some keywords or some leading words to help me sort of get my journaling out. I just typed those up using text box in Microsoft Word, cut them out, and layered those on the layout. This project was made for Scrapbooking cards today, and we were challenged to use adhesive in some way on our layout. So I took some glue dots and burnished that with some glitter and created some little sparkle dots across my page. Now, admittedly, I think this page is super busy. It's really busy. This is using the Goodness, what collection is this? This is from Simple Stories. I want to say it's called the Today collection, but I can't remember. But in this particular collection, it has some reds and yellows and turquoise. It's just really beautiful color combination. And it goes well with the coffee cup that I'm holding. So I did not plan that. In fact, I didn't notice it until after I had gotten the layout together. I'm like, hey, this kit goes really, really well with my little mushroom coffee cup that I got from Natural Life. Really cute. So anyway, I created layered clusters using some frames and some pattern paper. Have some die cut clusters and then added in some glue dots. You just put the glue dots where you want it and then add in your glitter and you are good to go. And that added just a little bit of sparkle and shine there. I probably could have toned that layout down just a little bit, but it is what it is. Next up is a layout called Smother. I have these photos of my daughter and I that I printed on a grid. I designed that using Photoshop, printed it in black and white. And this is me trying to get kisses and hugs from my daughter, which she clearly seems super excited about. She's at an age now where she doesn't like to be hugged or touched a whole lot. So I try to pull back as much as I can and not invade her personal space. Now, if you want to see this layout come together, make sure you check my YouTube Live playlist. I did do this layout during a recent live. And what I challenged myself to do was to use this background paper, or this pattern paper rather, for my background, but I want to take the intensity down. So I centered my photos. I used another sort of tone-on-tone green check pattern paper, but I broke that up using some white solid cardstock, so the pattern's not too crazy. And then because it is tone-on-tone, I want to add some pops of color with the floral clusters, and then a little bit of sparkle with the gold foil butterfly. I placed a little button in between the butterflies. I've got one there at the top and one at the bottom. And then of course I used some older thickers for the title Smother. Notice that tag there, that is the exact same pattern as the background pattern paper. So that tag came with the collection. This is a Hip Kit Club kit that I am using. And honestly, I would have overlooked that pattern paper. It would have just been sitting in my stash. So I'm so glad that I was able to use it in a creative way, and it turned out very pretty. Next up, I created this project for Scrapbook.com during the Tim Holtz release of his latest Distress Ink collection, which is called Prize Ribbon. It is a stunning blue color, absolutely beautiful, paired well with the blue color that's in my father-in-law shirt. That photos of my father-in-law in Corinne. We went and visited him recently. He was ordained as a deacon at his church, so we went and celebrated him. So what I did was I isolated some complementary colors that would go great with blue, which yellow definitely goes great with blue, and did some layering using some Tim Holtz die cuts and such. Just really, really beautiful. Love how that all came together, and that blue couldn't be more perfect for this photo. All the colors and that composition. Love the tissue paper and the butterflies. Very whimsical but stunning layout. I like the black and white against the blue and the yellow. Black and white, or any neutral color with white, is very grounding. So if you're using a lot of color on a layout, if you add a pop of a neutral color, it'll help bring that composition together. Hey Scrap Bosses, I hope you enjoyed that layout share. It has been a while since I have shared my completed projects here on the Victoria Marie YouTube channel. If this is something that you like, let me know in the comment section below. Give this video a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe. When you do, click the bell. That way you'll be notified each and every time a new video is posted. I'll see you guys in the next video.